click is all it takes to lose everything.
We are in a cyber war. You can either be a defendant or you can be a victim.
Proactive is always better than reactive. Reactive means you're waiting for the attacker to make the first move. You're waiting for the attacker to screw up, and that's okay, but there's going to be a lot of damage. It's better to be proactive. And what I'm referring to is incident response versus threat hunting. Incident response is a critical part of any business because 100% security doesn't exist if there's any functionality, and organizations are going to be compromised. The problem is incident response is counting on something visible. You can't react if you don't know you have a problem. And because today's adversary is stealthy, targeted, and data focused, most companies are breached for 22 months and have no clue because there is no indicator. So incident response is not getting the job done, and we need to be more proactive. What if you assumed your organization was compromised? What if you assumed that there was a system that was breached and you have to go in and find it? How would you do it? And that's what threat hunting is all about. Now, there's two general types. There's network and host. In a previous video, I talked about network threat hunting. That's where we typically start, and we look at all the different network traffic and communication to look for systems that are behaving in an unusual way. Once we find those systems, we then switch to host-based threat hunting. With host-based threat hunting, we're trying to answer a simple question. Is this computer compromised? Is there malicious activity on it? Now, there's many ways you can do this. If you have baseline systems, if you know what's supposed to be running, if you look for any unusual applications, if you're looking for network traffic going in and out of the computer, those are all anomalies you can go after. But I'll give you my favorite trick. If you look at how an adversary breaks into a system, when they break into a computer, they're going to upload a file, they're going to run it as a process, they're going to make an outbound network connection, and they're going to survive a reboot. Now, if you look at all of those, which one is really the most damaging? The most damaging is surviving a reboot. Because if somebody breaks into my computer and they upload code, but I shut my computer off tonight and it goes away and never comes back, I call that a good day. Now, yes, I wish I didn't get compromised, but if I was compromised for 4 or 5 hours, that's okay. What I don't want is to be compromised for 4 or 5 years. That's problematic. But here's the good news. Whether you're talking Windows, Mac, or Linux, there's a finite number of ways that programs start when you boot up your system. So if you're doing host-based threat hunting, the first thing I always do is go in and look at what files are running when the system starts and verifying the integrity that they haven't been altered or modified. And if there's any new files, any alterations, any modifications, that's a really good indicator that the system might be compromised. Then the other thing I'll do is I'll do what I call my triple play. I go in and run a little script that says, give me a list of any new files that are running as a process and making an outbound network connection. Now, just so we're clear, there's a lot of new files, there's a lot of new processes, and a lot of new network connections. So I'm not looking at each one by itself. But what I found is if all three are there, if there's a file that's brand new in the last week, that's running as a process and making an outbound network connection, 80% chance or greater that's malicious activity. Now, not 100, so you still have to investigate, you can't block it, but this is what we're trying to do with threat hunting is look for those behavioral patterns that are very indicative of adversaries and be able to find those compromised systems a lot quicker and a lot sooner. Because remember, the goal of security is not to prevent all attacks, it's to contain and control the damage. And threat hunting, especially host-based threat hunting, is a very effective way to be proactive, find the adversary, and shut them down to minimize and control the overall damage.